So hello and welcome. My name is
Hi,
Shing Chung, and I'm one of the Film Lab's social media coordinators.
that's
Film
cool.
Lab is a nonprofit that has been working to create racial and gender parity in the entertainment industry since 1998. Unfinished Works, which is the program that you're doing, is a program that we provide to workshop the diverse and cutting edge new scripts and writers. In just a few moments, we'll be joined by you, one of the writers from the upcoming December workshop. The workshop takes place on the 18th um, at 8 p.m. ET and then 5 p.m. Pacific time, and features the work of Jay Mehta and Tom Huang. Today, I'm joined by Tom. Tom, you are a award winner, director, and writer. Find Me, which he wrote and directed, won multiple festival awards, as well as becoming a critical and streaming hit on Amazon Prime. Outside Magazine named it the indie adventure film we all needed, while Real Honest Reviews called the film a funny, uniquely charming, and gorgeous film. Tom, a Warner Brothers Workshop graduate, has also been a CBA, CBS, and ABC Network TV staff writer. He is also the Film Independent Screenwriting Lab and Fast Track Fellow, where he developed his next feature film, Dealing with Dad. So please welcome Tom. How are you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Good,
I'm
hanging in
good.
there. How are you?
I'm
Good,
good.
good.
I like that little the I don't know what that is. It's a bunch of
Oh
papers in
yeah.
the back.
It's well over here is it's a story. It's like a storyboard thing
Storyboard,
where
right.
I break down my scripts into note cards if I need to like try to rewrite something and rearrange things. And pretty soon, actually, I'm going to put after the reading for Loyal Betrayal, I'm going to put up cards for Loyal Betrayal up there and try to
Right.
figure out how to like kind of rework things to make it work better.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that sounds really cool. I like the posters too. Well, why don't you tell us about where you're from, what kind of writing you do? Well, let's start with where
Uh,
you're from.
I was originally from the San Francisco Bay Area in Fremont, California. Then I went to UCLA as a creative writing major. When I was at UCLA, I thought I wanted to be an actor, and so I went to all the theater tryouts and found out there's only like one role for an Asian American that I could try out for out of like 10 or 15 plays. And so it's then I realized, even though UCLA is, 70% Asian, it was then I realized that, if I wanted to create interesting Asian American roles, I'd have to like write and direct them myself, or at least write them myself. And so that's when I decided to go into writing and directing, and ended up going to Loyola Marymount University in their film
Hmm.
program for graduate school. And then since then, I've written for network television, and I've made three indie feature films. And now I'm, working on my next one that we hope to shoot in the spring, and also working on this one, Moral Betrayal, to try to make it shore it up so we could get that made as well.
Okay. What kind of writing do you think you do? I know that you realize that you have to make your own content. So what kind of content and writing do you create? Do you have like a genre or something?
I think I like all sorts of genres. I think the ones that I'm really attracted to initially are character dramedies. So like
Right.
films by like Ong Lee or Alexander Payne, even someone like Judd Apatow. Those
Uh-huh.
kind of things where there's um, I probably gravitate more towards someone like Alexander Payne and Ong Lee, where their dramedies are very real, but there's funny things kind of happen from them, but it's not a straight out comedy. But those are things I'm really attracted to, and those are the kind of things I've been writing and making. I think also it's what got me to be able to write for network television too. I wrote for sitcoms actually. Um,
What'd you write for?
a show called Still Standing on CBS, a
I
show
think I
called
know it,
Sons and
yeah.
Daughters on ABC. Yeah, the sitcoms I wrote for were like straight out sitcoms. I mean, there wasn't any sort
Right.
of there wasn't any sort of trying to be overly dramatic. A lot of it was about trying to be funny.
Right.
But it was still a great training ground, and it's a great job to have. But I still, I'm more about trying to be, show something real, and then something funny kind of come out of it. I like realistic things, realistic characters.
Realistic, you're
Um,
right.
yeah.
I think that's a nice area to write because you can't just write like pure drama or pure. You can, but it's there's an interesting niche in the mix of dramedy. I agree with that. So
Yeah.
that so tell me about what inspired you to write Lord of Betrayal.
Um, I think I made a promise to myself when I got into this industry that like for any sort of films that I was going to make or I was going to write myself, not films that I write for other people or TV shows that are for other people, um, uh, that I wanted to make sure was diverse, and that if I could tell show a real Asian American perspective to things. And so one of the things I've always, and I've done that for my last three indie films, they've all been very diverse, not just Asian Americans, but Black, Latino, all sorts of mix of different races, the way I see America and the kind of America that I live in Los Angeles and in the Bay Area, certainly.
Right.
But my dream was always to be able to I love period dramas. And so I always wanted to, but every period drama you see that has Asian Americans in it, it's like someone from Asia, or it's like, someone like, fresh off the boat or something, an immigrant, which is not bad. Those are definitely people that establish things for us. But I really wanted to make a film, find a film that can make it surrounded Asian Americans who are Americans, who are
Right.
born in
Right.
America, raised in America, talk, are part of the culture. And so one day I went to the Manzanar uh, um, internment camp site that's in California. It's in the deserts of California, right after 395. And they have a great, they recently, in 2000, well, not recently, but in 2003, they set up a site there because it was all torn down. So they rebuilt the guard towers, they rebuilt the barracks, they have this great visitor center. And it's an amazing experience. I took my kids there. And one of the things that really, first of all, you get to see how kind of terrible the conditions were out there. And also the guard towers, it's something like that you see, it's like, wow, it's really striking. It's like, Americans were actually imprisoned because of their race. I think the thing that really struck me the most that I didn't realize is you go to the visitor center and they actually give you the name tags they gave all the prisoners there. And they're like little dangling tags that they had to wear off either on their shirts or off their wrists. And it was like a price tag, and they were basically
Right.
really felt like that you're just an object and not a person. And it struck me really really deeply. And then seeing the site and seeing all these pictures of all these Japanese Americans that were interned, you look at these pictures and they look like, as they should, they just look like regular Americans from the 40s, and the style of dress and the style of hair, the way they talk. And it just struck me that hey, these are Americans. I can make a period piece around this. And so the other thing I also noticed about it is that the despair and the darkness of having to be in a internment camp really struck me the same themes as film noir, one of my favorite genres. And so this film is actually not a dramedy. It's a straight out drama, but I decided let's make a film noir based in this camp. And I build a chance to make that period piece, with the Asian Americans, being Americans.
I think as a country, we've had so much issues dealing with Asian Americans, specifically with Chinese Americans, Japanese Americans, and even more. And then I think being an Asian American myself, you go through these things and you're looking for outlets and for plays, for films that do represent where we come from and where our ancestors or whatever, that where they come from. That's why I like playwrights like David Henry Huang, right? So
Yeah.
for his plays. Then my next question would be, there are so many platforms to write Asian American stories. What made you choose screenwriting the most? What made you choose writing for TV shows or movies the most? And what was the first piece of writing that you did that really resonated with you, so that you wanted to keep pursuing this route?
Yeah, just as a kid and growing up in high school, I loved movies. I loved going to movies. I was the kid in high school that I would go watch a blockbuster with my friends, but then I'd go to the video store and I'd want to find, videos that were just more interesting, or characters that are more interesting, and stories that are more interesting than just the kind of romance and kind of studio blockbuster stories that are out there. And so I was always been attracted to film. I never thought I could be a filmmaker. Like a lot of Asian American parents, they kind of really ingrained in me that I need to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever.
Right.
So I actually went to UCLA as a pre-econ major, and then I took one econ class and said I can't do this. But my first thing I ever wrote was in high school. I wrote a play that my drama teacher let me put on. And it was about four high school students who were trapped in an elevator, and they're all from different, one's a jock, one's a nerd, whatever, and then they all have to they spend a time trapped in the elevator talking to each other. I mean, it was basically a complete ripoff of The Breakfast Club.
Right.
Yeah, but it was still amazing to me that I wrote this, and then to see these actors bring to life and bring their own personalities to it, and to see an audience response. And people being affected by it was really eye-opening, and it stuck with me. And so after that experience, I always knew that something like that is something that I really find interesting and wanted to do. And that's kind of what pushed me into getting into writing for film.
Well, okay. So what is something that you're looking for help with your new project, which is Loyal Betrayal? Right. And for the people just watching right now, we're having a workshop for that project next week, Friday, December 18th, at 5 p.m. Pacific time and at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I guess my question is, what is something that you're looking for help with for that project doing this workshop? Do you want to fix up the scripts a little bit, or are you looking for people to cast in it to do the reading? Are you hoping to make a full film out of it afterwards, or?
Yeah, absolutely. The film is actually it's a full feature. I wrote my writing partner for this particular feature, Koji Steven Sakai. I really felt like if I was going to write something like this, I need to get a Japanese American writer involved, because
right.
There's so many things about internment camps that in the Japanese culture that it's very uniquely Japanese. And my friend Koji's a very prolific writer himself, and also made some films, and works a lot with the Japanese American Museum here. So it was really great having him help me put this together. As far as help, right now the Asian American Lab was putting on this reading, and we got it cast already through Asian American Lab actors who are part of the directory, which is great. And I also actually made a short version of this film. A black and white film noir short versions film with some really terrific actors that I'm sending out to festivals now to kind of show people what the feature film would kind of look like and how it would feel like, and it's gotten a really strong response. I guess the only thing right now is if knows anyone might be interested in helping raise funds for a feature version of this, that'd be a big thing. Fortunately, I've been doing enough of this indie filmmaking that I have a lot of ties to the Asian American filmmaking and acting community, which is, we're very tight knit, and we all kind of know each other. If you don't know someone definitely knows someone. And so I feel very fortunate that when I get this script done and ready to make it, that there's so many actors out there I could just reach out to and say, hey, can you take a look at this? Veteran actors, actors who, done a lot for the community. Yeah, I think, in particular, you're asking about the script. It's definitely a rough draft, and that's why I'm really, really appreciative that the Asian American Lab is, helping us do this table read for it. It's only going to be a few scenes from the movie, but I feel like the script still needs some work, and so being able to see people act out the scenes, and get feedback from people at the reading, because if you come to the reading afterwards, it's going to be a workshop. That we're going to talk about how to make the script better. All those things will help me help me open my eyes and think about how we could make this work. The thing is, when you're writing a script, you're just so deep into it. You're just fiercely just writing, trying to get it done, that you don't see it anymore after a while. It all just looks like crap pretty much after a while. And things you read over and over again, it doesn't resonate with you the same way that you read the first time.
That's why you have a whole paperboard, storyboard in the back.
Right, exactly. Giving you a little more perspective.
Right.
but also hearing what people's reaction is to a reading like this. You know, they haven't read it, they don't know anything about it other than the synopsis. To get their initial reaction of it is very helpful. You know, what they initially thought, maybe even things like maybe confusing or things they didn't like. You know, you can't please everyone, but at least getting to know what people honestly think really helps you. You know, really helps in seeing the script much better, more objectively.
And I guess my final question would be, I see you, you know, I checked you out a little bit more, and I was watching your film. I actually was
Oh,
watching Find Me just now. Yeah, and
thank you.
so yeah, I think you're doing very busy. You just did Find Me. You're doing Loyal Betrayal, and you're working on this project dealing with dad.
Yep.
You want to talk about what you're working on? Just briefly talk to us about it. There's people watching that might want to, know
Yeah,
about what you
absolutely.
do and all that.
Yeah, thank you. My last film is called Find Me. It's about a guy um, who just been through a painful divorce, who comes out of his funk by searching for a coworker friend of him who leaves clues for him about where she's at in national parks across the West. So we shot in like Yosemite National Park, in Zion National Park, and Death Valley National Park, and it's very scenic. And the film did release in 2019, and as you had said before, it did extremely well. It's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was a big streaming hit on Amazon Prime, to the point where we're getting millions and millions of minutes viewed like per week. It was just it's been a really amazing response. And now you could either rent it on Amazon or iTunes, or watch it for free on IMDb TV or Tubi TV with commercials. But that was a really great experience, and it was really nice to see that people were inspired by the film to go out to see the outdoors, which is my initial intention. But again, this happened as a micro budget film. This happened to star. Didn't have a budget, so like I starred in it actually, and we got some really great actors to support me. But it was me, and again, I tried to make diverse. So it was Asian American star with the Latina sisters who were other characters, and African Americans. But for this film, I did not want to talk about our race. Like my other films I've made talks about race and like what that means, what it means to be Asian American. I just want to make a film where people are just Americans who just happen to be Asian. So I was very pleased to see that people really enjoy the film and enjoy the characters, not even talk about the races of the characters,
Right.
even though it's diverse. And that just shows some improvement we've made as a whole, as a country. And this next film that's coming up is called Dealing with Dad. It's about a Chinese American family dealing with a depressed dad who's an asshole, who's
Okay.
actually nicer depressed than well. And so like the family is trying to figure out if they want to get him better. So it's a dramedy. I'm back to the dramedy thing that we're talking about on this one. It's based on my own experiences about trying to get my dad out of depression. And we started casting in July, and we got forming a really terrific cast. And because of COVID, things have kind of been delayed. So we hope to shoot in March right now. And it got some great producers on board, including Alan Powell, who's produced Gook and Miss Purple, Brian Yang, who's done Linsanity, Effie Brown is executive producer. She's a great indie film producer, famous at Sundance. But I think the other thing about this film is I really want to create discussion about depression, especially in Asian American communities. I think that especially, a lot of communities, but Asian Americans in particular, depression isn't even considered a disease, of course. A lot of people just think, a lot of families, especially immigrant families, just think, oh, that's something you can just get over. You can walk, stop being so sad, get out and go do things, and really it's something that for a lot of people, it's a physical disease. It's
Right.
not, it's something that you need to like find treatment for to get better. And so I really hope that that this will entertain people, but also be start a discussion about depression.
Yeah, I mean, people in the comment section really agree with you, and I agree with you too. I think that's something that's a very specific issue, and different people with different demographics struggle with it slightly differently, but also on the same scale.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean, for people that are just joining, this is Tom Huang, and he has a workshop with us with Asian American Film Lab, and it's going to happen. It's called Unfinished Work Workshop, and it's going to happen next week on Friday, the 18th, at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and that's it. Yeah, thank you for talking
Cool.
to us. Thank you for spending the time.
Yeah, thanks for
And
having me. And
yeah,
I'm glad
yeah,
I could actually get on this time. So I
yeah.
appreciate you bring back on.
Right. It's been a pleasure. Okay.
All right. Take
Bye.
care, guys. Take care, everyone.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys for listening too.